Hello, Soul Spiralers. Welcome back to today's episode. Today, I have one of my co-hosts, let's call him, here with me, the beautiful, benevolent Alex Tyson.
G'day. Co-host, I like that.
Yeah, I feel like you are a co-host.
Yeah, I'll
rather
take
than a
that.
guest, you're here somewhat regularly.
It's nice to not be the host, so co-host is good.
Yeah, I'll have to have you as a guest one day, and we'll do an excellent business sauna chat. But that's not what's on the agenda today.
No.
So Alex, my lover in life and play, is here with me today, and we have been together for
8.5 years.
8.5.
Almost 8.5.
About 8 years, let's say.
A bit over 8 years.
Yeah. And through that experience, we've had
it's been an experience.
Lots of journeys together. And I feel very blessed to have you as my partner because of a number of things that I'm sure we'll get into. But we wanted to have a bit of a chat today about conscious relationships and like being conscious in our relationships. But also being conscious in our conception and what that looks like, what that means, because I've had a few people asking me what the F that means.
Yeah.
And we do get a lot of people asking us about different things in our relationship. So we are not by any means perfect or having all the answers, but that is also the point that our imperfections are here to be witnessed.
I'm sure they'll shine through. Yeah.
So let's kick it off by maybe we should talk a little bit through how we found each other, because most people, sometimes they see us at this point in our life and they're like, wow, you guys are so healthy and like on the same page and all these wonderful things. But we were completely different people when we got together, let's say.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
We were different people personally.
Yes.
But
not in our hearts. Like I feel like become more of our true self through being together and through the experiences we've had together. We were both masked previously in a sense. And that was showing us to be different people.
I think we always saw each other's soul when we started dating. I think we saw each other through the masks and the layers. And I think that's part of what kind of brought us together, because I think we could see the purity of each other.
Not that we consciously realized that at the time.
No, that's right. But I think we felt it.
Yeah, we could feel the hope around being connected with each other's hearts.
Yeah. So at the time, and certainly for the first couple of years of our relationship, I mean,
But let's talk about even how we met, because that's something that you and I used to not want to admit to anyone.
Well, we met online.
Yeah, and we met online before it was cool to meet online.
We weren't telling anyone that we met online back then.
No.
Because it was like,
now
you don't do
everyone's
that.
meeting online, but then it was, you met online to like mess around or eHarmony.
Well, we were on a website called Be Naughty.
I don't know how candid we're getting.
It doesn't get any clearer.
And I was 19 and you were 17.
Yeah.
So we're also like at this very interesting point in our lives. And we met at that time. We met up a couple times, went on a date, did other things.
Be naughtied.
Be naughtied. And then you told me the bus stop's that way.
It wasn't quite that dramatic. Well, maybe from your perspective it was.
Yeah, I didn't really care at the time because it wasn't about that kind of relationship. We were both different people and not really interested in the seriousness of what it could be with each other, because we also felt I felt there was a gap in our ages. And yeah, we both started dating other people, but stayed friendly. There was always a connection with us of being able to like talk with each other with ease. I feel like that was like one of the main things. Besides the other one, which I won't, we don't need to explain.
Yeah, think of how we met, guys.
There's always been a connection there. But yeah, so we definitely, we saw other people. Then we started dating each other. And it was interesting because like that first.
Because it was like a year and a half from when we first met to when we started dating again, right? Maybe more.
Well, I was 22. I just turned 22.
Yeah, so it's like two and a bit.
Yeah, and you would have been just about to turn 20.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we dated for a while with the premise of like, no, we're just friends with benefits. Like we like it how it is. But I don't know, there was just like a deep connection with us. I always felt like I could tell you whatever I want to say. But, you know, there was always this looseness with us.
Well, we're playing it pretty cool.
We're playing it pretty cool and...
Way too cool, in fact.
No, I liked it. It was good.
Oh, yeah. No. I just mean like we were very like nonchalant about how we
everyone
truly
around
felt.
us was like, you love each other. And we're like, no. But I felt like I did love you. And we told each other that we loved each other before we got together. You don't remember it like that.
I don't remember it like that. But
I do.
The memory's a funny thing, how it works.
My memory is usually better than yours. Because you know why I think... No, let's not even go into that.
Let's not go there.
We don't need to have an argument here.
Let's get our egos out and see who wins.
See, guys, we're not perfect. But we both were embodying this love of each other before we decided we were boyfriend, girlfriend.
Totally.
And then from it was that beautiful honeymoon phase and you're so present with each other when you're present with each other. And even like that next like 6 months. And then we moved in together. And that honeymoon phase ended quite quickly, I feel.
It did.
Like we still had so much love for each other. And like I could always feel that in my heart. And I could always feel, like that essence of being able to see the true you, even though maybe sometimes you weren't always displaying that. And I think you felt the same way back towards me.
Yeah.
But
the honeymoon phase is the honeymoon phase for a reason, right? Because it's
and I
when
want to talk about this.
When you're so present with someone that you aren't running your subconscious programming.
Exactly.
And so you're essentially being received as a person different to who you actually are in your day-to-day.
Yes.
And so then we moved in together, and mind you, at the time it wasn't like, oh, we just moved in. Oh, it's all gone to shit.
No,
that wasn't what I felt.
We didn't consciously realize what was happening, but as soon as you're thinking when you're with someone else, you're not being present with them. Yeah. So imagine living together, like all of a sudden your own little bubbles of when you're thinking and like in your own little journey or pathway of life that you're in a dialogue that you're experiencing, you're in there with someone else. And so the subconscious patterns start to play out. And this is where you see a lot of people like go into difficulties in their relationships.
Yeah, because all of a sudden you're a different person.
Yeah.
You
and you're like, why are you doing that thing? And they're like, what?
You never used to do that, or you've changed or something. It's like, well, no, it's just because you get so used to being in each other's company, you're no longer like every minute, all my attention is on you, Kristin. Yeah. It's like I have attention on other things because I'm doing the dishes or I'm, playing PlayStation, which I was doing a lot of at the time. And so then that's the real person, right? That's who they are in their day to day.
Person with all of their experiences, habits, beliefs, flaws, let's say.
Programming
embodied in the one. It's not just, you're not just seeing the highlight reel.
Yeah, totally.
You're getting the full version. It's not just the social media highlight reel.
Exactly.
You're getting the full version of that person. And so a lot of the time, Bruce Lipton talks about this, like how the more that you can be present, it's like when you're driving a car. This is the example he gives. When you're driving a car, if I'm having a conversation with you while I'm driving the car, who's driving the car? My subconscious is driving the car.
Yeah.
So if I'm having a conversation with myself in my head, who's driving the car?
Your subconscious.
Which is my body being the car. And so all of a sudden, like, you don't realize some of the things that you subconsciously have a tendency towards that maybe irritate other people.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that there's always irritations that come up, but I don't think that anything was so major to us that we were like, this is not going to work,
In many ways, that's why I actually encourage people to move in with their partners.
Definitely, because then all that stuff will come up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I was talking to a friend about this the other day. Once you move into together as well, you're less about yourself. You've become like a team unit. And so if you decided like, oh, this is not good, like living together or whatever it is, and this is a bit of my opinion, that should be a team decision. Because if it's not a team decision, and if you're just deciding that one thing for yourself, which sometimes is what needs to happen, maybe it's not the right relationship for you, or maybe you're not the right people for each other right now. And when I say the right people for each other, I don't mean that like you might not ever be the right people for each other, but it's that aspect of like, I'm a different person now to who I was then. If you were dating me 8 years ago, right now, I wouldn't be the right person for you.
Yeah.
But I've become the right person for you in alignment with you becoming the right person for me. So you could be, feeling like things are coming up, and it's that commitment to each other of like, how can we grow and evolve together, and how can we support the other person to live their dream, their purpose, or whatever that is, and allow them to go through that journey. And I think that's been the biggest takeaway from our experiences, is like, be each other's biggest fucking cheerleader ever. And like, I'm so thankful that you were that for me, because I know not everyone experiences that, but it's that like, I'm committed to myself and I'm committed to my own growth, but I'm also committed to growing our relationship through that process. I'm not going to leave you behind and make decisions like just on my own. Like, I might make a decision, but I would still consult you because we're a team. Yeah.
I think one of the reasons we've been, I guess, the word that's coming up is successful.
Oh, mate.
Oh my God.
You've been, just check out of work mode, babe. Check out of work mode.
We've achieved a goal. Success. No, the reason that I think we're still together, let's put it that way, is because I think we always encouraged each other to be our own person, but also we also grew together. And we weren't initially like that.
No.
I initially didn't support you very much.
And I was very codependent at that point in time.
Yeah. And there were also things that you didn't support me on as well, but over the time.
Wait, what did I not support you on?
I think,
all the work.
Yeah, exactly. How much I was working at the time.
Yeah.
Whereas now it's so different. Like, that stuff's changed because we've just learned that stuff's important. I support you in everything that you want to do, and it's vice versa, and it feels really good to me now when, like, I love it when you say those things like, you encourage me, Anyway, so yeah, I think early days, we moved in and things certainly changed in some ways. And I think we were just in the motions of trying to start to
early
really
20s, becoming who we are.
Exactly. Yeah. We were going through we were figuring out who we were, still currently doing that, and realizing and learning. I think it was maybe a year or so after that, we were living somewhere else, and realizing like, if this is going to work, we need to grow together, and it was really when we did that first fast. It was around that time when I felt like we started growing together. Yeah. Did that first juice fast.
Because we had like a team thing to work on.
Yeah.
I think that's been really key as well. Like, some of the things in our life, like, we've both been so like on the health journey together.
Yeah.
And because we've had like a common goal together, it's really allowed that growth to happen for us.
Yeah, 100%. And there were times when and it's gone both ways, where one of us has said to the other, like, hey, I'm going in this direction. You're either coming or it ain't working, And every time that's happened, we've both committed to doing that with each other.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's going to continue like that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there'll be times as we continue to grow and morph and change as humans, that like, hey, like, I'm doing this thing, and I think we're just better and more, like we do it quicker now.
And maybe kinder.
Yes. And certainly more from a kinder place. And so I think it feels a bit more easeful than it did, whereas it did feel quite jarring at those points, So yeah, and we just kind of started to work through things and get to know each other better. But I feel like now we're just talking about like the history of our relationship.
Well, yeah, I was kind of going somewhere else, but you went back to history, which I think was relevant with those things to say. Like, we've had ultimatums of each other.
Yeah.
Which sounds kind of like intense to think, but it's not ultimatum it kind of is in the sense of like, we can see the potential in the other person, and we want to be continuing on this journey together. And it's like, are you going to come along with me? Are you going to catch up with me a little bit so that we can still be on this journey together? And yeah, I can think of 3 specific occasions.
Yeah.
That's either you've done that to me or I've done that to you. Done that. But I think that's been, but it's in a supportive way. It's like, I'm giving you the chance to like, let's go on this journey together, continue on, rather than being like, oh, he's really not showing up how I want him to show up as a person. Yeah. And so maybe this isn't working. Like, I think that's a
really important piece.
Yeah. Actually. It's that communication of like, this is coming up for me. And I can see that you can come along with me on this. And I really want you to. Are you willing?
Instead of giving up on them before you've actually spoken to them about it. You're like, oh no, he's not going to want to do this with me.
Yeah.
Or no, she's not into that.
Definitely. Like that one, especially, like I wasn't like coming on the more spiritual journey, which is funny what we're going to get into conversation wise in a little bit, because stepping into that spiritual journey, I was like, you were into mindfulness, you were into like goal setting, you were into getting things done and like being positive. Like you were doing affirmations before I was and that sort of thing. And I was like, I could just...
But don't talk to me about a chakra.
I know, yeah. Don't talk to me about chakras or spirits or spirituality or connecting with...
Things I can't touch or see.
Yeah. Like you definitely had a lot of resistance around that. And I was just like, oh, I just wanted you so bad to like come on that journey, because I could see how... Like I could see you... and like all the little pie slices of how you were showing up. And there was like this empty pie slice there. And I was like, if he filled in this pie slice, like his life would be even more amazing. And so, you know, it wasn't like I just came in and was like, you have to do this. It was like, just give it a go with me. And I think I said to you, I was like, give it a go with me. And if you're not on board with it, I totally get it. Like, and I'm okay with that. But I just need you to try. I just need you to give it a go. And then lo and behold,
sun god rises.
Sun god rises. He's making up meditations better than I've ever made up. Connecting with his spirit and all that sort of stuff. So, and I wasn't really, I just wanted you to give it a go, but I didn't really have any expectation as well.
Yeah. And I think the other important piece there is that understanding that you can't actually change the person.
You can only support them to be who they're meant to be.
Yeah, that's been a massive kind of learning over the last 8 years. Because I remember when we first started getting together, I was like, oh, I want, I wish Kristin did this and did that, and it's just like, that ain't gonna happen, man.
No, and I was like that with you too.
Yeah, and
I remember so strongly. It's like that aspect of manifestation. You put out to the universe what you want, but then you have to surrender to it and allow it to just be. And it was at this point in time, like you and I were having some rockiness, and I just wanted you to show up and like prioritize me in our relationship. And I didn't feel like that was happening. And I remember saying to myself, Kristin, you didn't fall in love with who you're trying to make him to be. You fell in love with him. So just let him be him. And I think it was like literally 2 weeks later, you were like, I'm prioritizing you. I don't know, like you even like said something.
I probably
tangible,
literally just
like,
said it, yeah.
So you anyway, but like, and I was just like, what? Like it was as soon as I let go of trying to change you or make you into something else, that you showed up as the man that I wanted. And so I find that really fascinating to be, because like I remember a friend of mine talking about like when you go through relationships and like you go through a breakup, often you're at a different frequency level than you were when you first got together, let's say. And so then if you go through a breakup, the next person that you will attract will be at that frequency level that you're at. And so this played in my mind for a period of time. I was like, I've grown so much. Like maybe Alex isn't the person for me. Like maybe if we broke up, then actually I would attract someone that's like at this different frequency level, and it will be like, whoa, even more like amazing. And then I realized you could become that yourself in the relationship with me, because I was hitting a certain frequency and that was asking you to match that frequency, whether it was through an ultimatum or through just growth happening. And it was like, from me sticking through those like doubts when we were having things go on, it's like, now when I look at our relationship, I'm like, like no one can beat this frequency for me.
Yeah, well, and it's that commitment to like growing with each other.
Definitely.
I had a similar wants, and then I remember we were sitting by the beach after our first water fast, and I saw you just like eating a mango with your hands, or you like peeling it and just like eating. You had mango all over your face. And then, I don't know, you stood up or something, and I just looked at you and I was just, fuck me. Here is this beautiful supermodel eating fruit. This was important to me at the time. Just committed to eating raw foods and fruits only. This was beyond a dream for me, even just like 12 months ago, because it was so important to me at the time to like, I want to eat raw and I want to cleanse and I want to go this deep. But even at that time, because that's just my ego having those thoughts, I'm like, Alex, I can't like create, like I can't make Kristin do that. I can't change her into that. She is her, and I love her for who she is. And so I just let go of those thoughts. Whatever it is, what it is.
Those things anyway.
Exactly. And then here we are 1 or 2 years later, and you're just like way beyond what I could have ever dreamed, Because
we allowed that space to like evolve and grow together rather than giving up.
Yeah.
When it felt hard, or giving up when you didn't feel like they were exactly it, because we felt that strain of like hope in our hearts.
Yeah.
And like we've been through some tough stuff that like I don't think other people would have, stuck around through some of those things. Like some of the issues that we've had and, the hurts that we've experienced. It's like, but every time for us, it's always been like, what does our heart say? Because our heart has the answer, I love that that talk of that study that the Heart Math Institute did on the heart's response to intuition and the heart's response. And they measured like the third eye's response to like stimuli on the screen, or the mind's response to stimuli on the screen. And they measured the heart's response to that stimuli as well. And the mind was responding 3 seconds before the image popped up on the screen. The heart, we've got a bird knocking.
Yeah.
The heart was responding. They put it down at like 6 or 8 seconds before. So it was like way before. But then when they actually, in like the notes of the study, they put down that number because they couldn't actually measure when the heart started responding.
Because they just knew the whole time.
Because it knew the whole time. So the more that like we're able to connect and listen to what our heart has to tell us, that's the answer, even if we can't make logical sense of it. And I feel like it's so me to be like, what does your heart tell you? Like, you do it to me now, and like my friends do it to me now.
Yeah, and you're like, God damn it.
I've said it so much to everyone else that everyone else now says it to me. But it's a beautiful thing. And I definitely, when we've had those moments of like, am I meant to be with this person? When I've checked in with my heart, it's said yes. It knows. It knew about this moment of where we are now, moving into a different phase of our lives, and experiencing how we can be most conscious in our relationship and really prioritizing our time with each other. And when we are like in a conscious experience together, being present with each other and really giving that undivided time, but also bringing that consciousness into who we want to bring into this life in our future.
Segue.
That's a good segue, wasn't it? So that this aspect of conscious conception is I want to ask you, what does conscious conception mean to you?
Conscious conception means being aware of being aware of the whole process. So being aware of the actions that you take and the implications they might have on your child. That to me, like when I think of conscious conception, I also think of just like consciousness around parenting, and parenting starts well before a baby is conceived. And so it's just being conscious around the positive and challenging effects that our actions have and our thoughts have and the environment has like on a child. That to me is what conscious parenting, conscious conception is. It's just like being aware of everything and the choices that you make.
Yes. Some people call it like baby prep. It's like, it doesn't mean that we're conceiving this, right now, but it's something that we want to have in the future. And it's something that, could be in the near future, could be in the further future. You guys will find out when that happens. But it's like, who do I want to be at that point of conception? Because who I am at that point of conception welcomes in that child and allows that child to feel supported already by their mum and dad, and sets them up to be able to be their truest self if we can allow that expansiveness to be occurring at that point.
Yeah, I really like that question, like, who do I want to be when I conceive, or who do I want to be when my child's born? Because it's very exciting to ponder that, and it makes me think of Tony Robbins, like, what's the gap? If you want to NLP it that way. But I think it's a really kind of empowering thing to think and to work toward. Also knowing that however it happens is perfect.
Yeah. We're not trying to control the situation.
No.
We are trying to approach it with the most open consciousness that we can in terms of our experience and our perspective and our body, mind, soul, whatever it is.
It's been really enlightening for me learning more about, the programming of the brain and how these things happen, not just when the child's born, but during pregnancy, and how the feelings and emotions of the mother really do play a significant impact in the development of the baby. Like, when I started learning about those things, I was like, like, we actually play, I know the parents play a big role, but not just like in how the parents bring up the child, but how they make the child feel, how they felt during the pregnancy, like the environment that they're bringing the child into, everything like that has an impact. And I think we're in the most lucky position of any of the last 5 or 10 generations of humans, because we have a choice. We can actually choose right now. Like, we're not bringing a child in, under these terrible circumstances, or like, we can choose not just we can plan around when we want to have a kid, but we can also choose like the environment that they can come into, what experiences they'll have. Like our parents even didn't get that choice. It just kind of happened, and they were surviving, trying to earn some money, and certainly our parents' didn't have that choice. My grandparents were coming over on a boat from Italy when they were 21, and they already had a 3-year-old, which was my mum. They didn't get a choice at the environment that she grew up in when they were in Australia. They didn't get a choice of what was going to happen.
Well,
look,
they did get a choice, but the option of choices was much more small.
Limited. Thanks. Yeah. Look, I think everyone actually always gets a choice, but the point I'm trying to make is that I think conscious conception is like having that awareness of all of these implications and effects, that we can have on the child, and then making choices around that, from that place. That to me is what a conscious conception is.
And I think you and I have been talking about this, like, baby prep conscious conception for like the last few years. And what are some of the ways that we have like already stepped into that conscious conception journey up until this point? Like, I can think of quite a few.
You go first.
So one of them was living in the place that we wanted to be able to raise children in, and we felt that being in a warmer climate was more conducive to how we wanted to raise children and how we wanted to live personally. Yeah. So I don't think we would have been open to conceiving, or our spirit baby maybe wouldn't have felt safe to come in yet, because that was something that we wanted if we hadn't moved yet. Who knows though? Fasting. So a big one for me was my health. Yeah. And because I had been told I had all these hormonal conditions, I had all these skin conditions coming out, I was having an experience that I didn't feel like I was at an optimal level of health.
To bear a child for 9 months and bring them into this.
Well, I didn't want to pass any of that on to my children, because I felt that would just be unfair.
Which happens, by the way.
Yeah. But that's also like not anyone's fault. Like at the end of the day, like it's the level of like awareness that you have. And sometimes that child chooses to come in and have those things to overcome. But I felt like it was so prevalent in my life because I needed to heal it before those things happened. So yeah, the 2 fasts that we did, especially the last fast, was a big thing around, because the first fast was a lot around like me really healing. And then this most recent fast was like, let's like fast again one more time before we do step into this like conception window when that happens, and allow enough time for my hormones to rebalance and for us to recheck our minerals and our nutrients and integrate that fast, which is still happening at the moment. Especially on an emotional and mental level. So yeah, those are the key things. Also having having my own sacred practices and my like daily rituals and morning routines, and being at like a fitness level where I'm like can sustain, but then like if I can't sustain it, then that's okay too. And having just having the space in our lives for us to both be present with our children as well.
Yeah, finding the space. Yeah, I like that. And well, I don't like that, but I know that because we talk about it a lot. And having the health as the highest priority has always been something for us.
Yeah.
And it felt right after fasting again and going through that process that it's like we're stepping into a bit of a different chapter.
Yeah.
And we were also reading a lot about the flow-on effects of our DNA and the environment within the womb that the baby spends 9 months in. It's a long time. You want to make sure it's comfy in there, right? And optimal for cell division and, you know, for the baby to do what it needs to do. And in many ways, I think our journey to this point, we had this choice of like, well, we might as well make it as clean as possible, you know, and let's do this other fast, and let's both just, again, elevate our level of clarity, if you will, and inner cleanliness to be able to bear a child. You know, we have this opportunity to really, in some ways, kind of like see what's possible in a sense of, you know, again, my ego is about to come out, but how many people in the world have both fasted as much as we have, cleansed the body as much as we had, and then gone on to bear a child from that place? And that to me is quite exciting. And
not everyone's going to do that.
No, and I'm not suggesting that everyone needs to.
No.
In fact, don't.
This is
just our journey, you know. But it's kind of also what we're into, and that those things are very interesting and fascinating to us.
I think this last fast was so needed as well for us to be able to like kind of come to a different level of like realization of like letting go.
Yeah.
That's been like the biggest thing we've both realized is like we just got to freaking let go a little bit, because you and I are very on the health path, and sometimes that can be controlling.
Totally, like detrimental.
Yeah, and judgmental of ourselves. And this most recent fast really taught us to let
that ain't gonna work.
That it's not gonna work, and especially when we have kids, that's definitely not gonna work.
Totally.
And so that's been really humbling and really beautiful to experience, and I feel like you and I are more ready than we ever have been because we went through that emotional experience as well.
100%.
What other things have we been doing to, or maybe you go in your perspective, to
prepare for conception? For me, and maybe this is a guy thing, or maybe this is just an Alex Tyson thing, but a lot of I guess the work, if you could say I've been doing work, but I guess just the changes in how I think about children and conception is really just about like the depths of our connection, you know, and I guess, you know, a year ago, like when we talked about it, it was still a bit like, oh yeah, like that's going to happen. 2 years ago, it was like, oh Jesus, are you serious? Like, are we talking about kids? Like it's been what feels like in some ways quite a quick transition. Maybe not, maybe a couple of years is plenty of time. But I think through fasting with you and going deep with you, even outside of fasts, and just feeling more and more into it. Like, I think the biggest thing for me is actually just that understanding of like, I really want this now, and I never had those thoughts 2 years ago.
Yeah. Whereas I was always wanted babies.
Yeah. And so it was really just like understanding that. And once I don't think there was a day or a week, maybe there was, I don't know, but really when I actually realized, like this is actually a really exciting chapter and kind of process and what that would mean to me. And, you also like, there's a lot of external factors too. Like obviously you are an external factor to how I feel about having kids, but also, seeing friends and colleagues have children and seeing like, there's just some things that have really resonated with me. But again, like they happened randomly,
What were those things?
Well, I remember I was at a park once and I was doing a workout. This was just after our recent fast. We're in Melbourne and I was trying to do like half a push-up and struggling. And there was a dad with his son there and they were kicking the soccer ball around. His son was like, I don't know, 6 or 7 or something like that. His dad was just like, yeah, like control it and then like pass it. And I was just like, man, I really wanted to be able to do that. Like, and I just noticed that my reaction to it was not what I thought it would have been. I didn't think I was going to be like, oh man, that just fills me with love, but it did, And, there was a few things I heard from friends who had kids and they said, I made a joke recently after we had niece and nephew over and we were just kind of joking like, oh yeah, the great thing is you can give them back, And my friend said, mate, when you have your own, you'll never want to give it back. That'll just never be something you think.
Think about your brother and
whatever.
They're like so happy that we gave them back.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, we miss them.
And in the past when someone had made a comment like that, I probably would have been like, yeah, sure thing, mate. Like, but in that moment I was just, yeah, I feel that. So I think for me, it's just noticing these change in thoughts as they come up over the last 12 months, 24 months, and appreciating them as these are thoughts and feelings and emotions that are coming up, which are different to what they used to be. That's cool. I like that. It feels good. And so I guess it's just an acceptance of that. I haven't been trying to force it like, oh yeah, but we should wait a couple more. Like, I'm just trying to keep my head out of it, and keep the heart in it. So I think understanding that and feeling into that's probably how I feel I've been doing the work.
And I feel there's like an energetic level of like my health being at a point now where it feels right. And probably there's part of you tapping into that energetically too, of like in the lead up to that point happening, you energetically kind of like getting ready for that. And now it's like at a point where we're both like, yeah, this feels like right and safe and true. Like you were already like having that evidence of that, the future thing happening, like in the lead up to. Does that make sense?
I think so.
Do you know what I mean? It's like when an event's already happened, let's take like time, the linear time out of it. Like events already happened. And so like
I'm kind of sensing that.
Yeah, it's like that whole aspect of like your past self is already knowing what's going to happen. No, not that it consciously knows what's going to happen, but it knows that event's going to occur soon. So therefore, it's
the thoughts are changing and the emotions around it are changing. It's already
shifting.
Yes,
like, it's like when people tap into like you and do like a psychic reading and they're reading your aura or whatever it is like that, they're tapping into different paths or like strings, let's say, of like where you could be, walking on this path. And you had tapped into one of those strings at that point in time.
Totally. I mean, it's a fascinating conversation because I believe everything has already happened in our lives and we're just experiencing this moment. And so that idea of as you get closer to certain things happening, certain feelings come up, emotions come up, thoughts arise based on that, So if we listen to that a bit more.
Definitely. And
it's also quite freeing that because when you realize that time isn't linear, like, and everything's already happened, you just kind of like, well, I can just take it a bit easier then, can't I? Because I have no choice as to what is or isn't going to happen. It's already happened. So I might as well fucking enjoy it as it happens. And I think part of that is too what I've been experiencing with this. Yeah. And with the idea of conceiving is like, well, it's happened. So I can't actually change the lead up. I might as well, like I'm having these feelings. It's going to happen. So I might as well enjoy it, you know. There's certain, you know, applying that to all areas of your life. I mean, I'm even reminding myself now with some other areas of my life right now that are, you know, challenging or whatever. And it's just like, Alex, just enjoy it, man.
The things already happened. So
yeah, it's exactly. Whatever is part on your journey is on your journey, and be present in that moment and enjoy it.
Definitely. And if you're not feeling present, then send your past self some good vibes to feel more supported to make the choices to keep you on the path that you're meant to be on.
Yeah. And your future self as well. Yeah.
Yeah, true. Yeah. Sending your future self the vibes. It's funny. I was talking about that on an Instagram post today. I was talking about that time not being linear.
Right.
And if time's not linear, then all of the feelings that we get of intuition, are they just our heart knowing what's already happened?
Yep.
And I 100% believe that.
100%.
And so because we live in like a functioning mental/physical body where we want that mental stimulation to try and figure things out, it's like you can just remind yourself that that is the case, and then send yourself the vibes of like to your past self or to your future self to reinforce that feeling of intuition. So then when you make those choices, they feel like you're following your intuition, when in actual fact, it's just your past or your future self being like, yes, do it.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
I had a moment in the steam sauna the other day, and I was thinking of myself when I was 21, and I actually almost started crying, although I couldn't really tell if it was the steam on my skin or tears. I certainly felt like tears were coming up or getting close to the surface. And I just remember saying to myself when I was 21, 22, and, you know, going back to the start of our conversation, we were drinking, we were partying. I was not me. I wasn't allowing my soul to come out. And I just was in the sauna, I just said to myself, keep doing what you're doing, man. Yeah. You know, just believe in yourself, and, you know, just keep going. You're heading, you're on your journey, you know. And it's funny because I say that back to myself now, and I know that there were times during my early 20s when I certainly felt and heard those things, you know, just I know I'm on the right path, or I know this is not my path, so I need to change my path, and it's really interesting to kind of think about that.
Definitely. And you and I have done that in our relationship, like quite a bit. Like when we've had hard times and we've made it through, we're like, okay, we've made it through now. Let's just go back to, as if we're talking to ourselves, or as if we're tapping into the energy of ourselves. When
stick with it.
Yeah, it's okay. Like, it's going to work out. Your everything is going to be beautiful if you just keep persisting and know that. And in that moment when I was talking about that tough time, when I asked my heart, what does my heart tell me? And it said, stay, forgive. That was my future self telling me those things. And us conversing about that and doing that together, I think, is very powerful as well.
Totally. I mean, let's do a whole drum journey on it or something, you know. And incidentally, in that moment where you were talking about, like when you tuned into your heart, the message you got was completely contrary to what everyone else in your life was saying at the time.
And I really struggled with that.
Yeah. But it goes to show that when we listen to it, like, our heart knows.
Definitely.
You know, and also that idea around like getting a second opinion or a third opinion or a fourth opinion.
Being more confusing
than just listening to. Exactly. When we go out and
it's usually the first answer.
Yeah.
It's the first answer. It's not the things that then you start analyzing for next 25 minutes to 6 days. It's that first answer you got that maybe you didn't want to hear.
Yeah, I think about this a lot in terms of like decision making. You know, we actually did this the other day. We looked at a dining table and we're like, yeah, that feels right. And then, but we both said, well, we should look at some other options just so we know. It's like, but hold on. It felt right. It was in our body and we knew it. Yeah. Right. So why waste the time? Because we know that we're going to go around the ring of rosy and then we're going to come back and then we're going to, it It was the first one. If you get that feeling. If you don't get that feeling, then that's not the right one. And that's a very literal example. But I find it similarly with finding team, or making business decisions, making life decisions. Oftentimes it's just our head that says, no, you should get a second opinion. Talk to someone else about it.
Like fantasizing about all the different options. Like I sometimes love fantasizing about options.
Sure.
I'll admit it.
Yeah.
But then you still come back and you're like, that was unnecessary.
I think that's different. What I'm saying is that oftentimes our heart has the answer. We hear that, but then our brain is like, no, go and talk to someone else or go and get some advice.
Pain body.
Yeah.
Imagine if we always just acted from we asked our heart and then we acted from that space, and how the world would be.
Yeah. I mean, I'm working to get there.
What is your heart telling you right now?
That I'm really enjoying this conversation.
I'm like, let's go make a baby right now.
Yeah. Should we leave the podcast running?
No, that's maybe not exactly what my heart's saying, but it's funny to think.
My heart right now is being quite present and just really enjoying this moment.
Yeah, definitely.
But yeah, interesting you brought up about the time stuff, because I just find it fascinating to think about that.
Me too.
And it's freeing, but also scary, right?
Oh, definitely.
And same thing with if we always listen to our heart, that's hard.
Oh yeah,
and
hard.
And scary.
Most people have experienced some level of trauma from listening to their heart as well, or what they feel like was trauma from listening to their heart. So part of this mistrust comes in, and it's not actually mistrust of the heart; it's mistrust of what that pain is unnecessary. But sometimes I'm so glad that I went through all the things that caused me pain. Marcus, who I had on the podcast recently, we had a yoga session with him on the weekend, which was so beautiful. And that was Alex did for our date night. He got Marcus to come and have a private yoga class with us, which was magical.
Flipping awesome.
Definitely do it if you need the idea. And I don't know if it was in that class or something else, but Marcus asked us to think of a time where we experienced real pain, or real hurt, but we were able to forgive and to be, and like a moment that we can be really grateful for. And mine was that real hard conversation that you and I had that almost broke us up, because in having that, it created so much honesty, which I already thought was at a certain level, but we just needed to go to another level in our relationship. And if that hadn't happened, I don't think we would be who we are today. I don't think I would have come and fasted with that first time. I don't think I would have had so many breakthroughs about my own belief systems. That was so painful, but it was that, what's the word? The gateway to me being the next level of who I was meant to be.
Yeah.
And so even though part of me could have gone straight into my pain body in that moment and been like, that really hurt, and I should have not listened to those chats coming through my head, when in actual fact it's probably one of the moments in my life I'm most grateful for at this point in time. And it hurt so much. It hurt more than anything, really. Especially when I was at a point in my life where I'm super spiritual, believing that anything that happens for a reason, and I was like, why is this happening to me? And it was that hurt so much. That hurt my ego so much. And to have worked through that and to come out the other side and also feel where our relationship is at because of that, that was meant to happen. And I'm so glad it happened. And yeah, it was a painful experience at the same time. But what my point is that we start to mistrust the heart because sometimes it leads us to pain. But actually, that was still exactly what was meant to happen, because it was breaking through something for you to allow you to really rip open the curtains and step into the sunlight and be a more true version of yourself. And that might have to happen 10 times, depending on your experiences, your ancestral pain, whatever is stuck in your system that you have signed up for in this life. But at the end of the day, the thing is, listen to your heart and support your own heart and support your partner's heart. Support each other's hearts. Be each other's cheerleaders and listen to your heart.
Yeah. Can we just marinate on that for a moment? No, it's totally on point. if we stay present and we stay coming from our heart space, easier said than done.
It takes practice.
It does. That's exactly right. It is a practice. But if we do that, we may end up in a situation that's uncomfortable or challenging. But it's all part of the growth.
Definitely.
Yeah. I remember that day as well. And I remember the moment when I realized what had to be done. And it was massive for me because like it came from a place of me saying that I never wanted to lie again. And that was huge. I realized how much I'd been lying my whole life. And so I had some shit I need to tell you, you know, and yeah, I also too am grateful for those moments and what happened in the months afterwards and up until this point, you know. So,
and really that was a big part of our baby prep.
Absolutely. I mean, well, let's think about that for a minute.
Almost a catalyst of why you told me was because we were talking more and more about these sorts of commitments to each other.
Yeah, the real reason in that moment was because we were going to fast, and I knew that if I didn't tell you, then it was going to come up when we fasted. That was like I had that moment, and
better we could work through it then in the fast rather than having to deal with the shock at the same time.
Oh yeah, that like there was no way 15 days into not eating food I was going to tell you that
and have to deal with it.
Nah, no chance. And yeah, so yeah, anyway, we don't need to go into the story, but yeah, you're in a stadium full of 7,000 people at Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins is riffing away.
And then cathartic release
yeah, and he's like blah blah blah. He's talking for like 40 minutes nonstop, and then he just, you know, and because the truth will, and then the entire fucking crowd is just set you free, and I was just like, shit.
I need to tell
oh my god. But that
was even before we read Radical Honesty.
Yeah, but like you said, that was a massive awakening for me to come into my light, into my truth, and the freedom that has come with not telling fibs ever since that moment. I got nothing to hide. That was a very shameful experience for me. To tell you what I told you was very shameful as a male, but as just a human. That was, and the
guilt was
you. Totally. It totally was. And to then come out of that, I got nothing to hide. I got nothing to hide. And I think in many ways that's led me to being very open about, you know, sexual conversations with people, or if people talking about money, right? I find money and sex people don't want to freaking talk about because it's taboo, right?
Yeah.
But now I'm like, no, we need to talk about those things. And I have nothing to hide. Like if you want to ask me about the successes of my business, let's go.
Yeah.
Because it's important.
Definitely.
And it's the same thing with around sex. Like I'll tell you about how you, Kristin, and I struggled with that coming out of our fast and what that felt like and libido and all those kind of challenges. I'm open about that stuff because I don't feel like I need to hide anything anymore. And that moment at Tony Robbins was a real catalyst for that.
And yeah, I think it's super powerful. And in that moment of you committing to telling the truth, I felt the commitment of you being in your truth, and that made me feel the commitment of you and us, even though it was painful. I was like, I could feel that was actually you like committing to me more than you would ever commit to me like in any other way in our experience. I mean, you know, even like it felt as big as like getting married kind of thing to me, of that like energetic commitment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting you say that. You know, you asked earlier about what are the things I've been working on to do with conceiving this baby. And that's what I was trying to say. It's that conscious commitment that I've been making in the background. And even things which may be little to some people, but are big to me, like around our financial situation, everything like that. Like that to me feels like getting married in some ways, you know, because there's, you know, our financial situation is complex, put it that way. And like even just committing on a deeper level with those kind of things, whether it's just me or whether it's a male thing or whatever it is, That was really important to me. And that to me feels like a deeper level of commitment, even though I know it's so surface level and I'm working through my own stuff now around that.
There's energetic aspects of us combining and those sorts of things, because that it talks about that being a unit. And that's what you and I really want before we conceive, is to be a strong unit so that these children feel safe and feel supported to come into this unit and be like, yeah. And that's like when we talk about like spirit babies, like we can feel the spirit of our future children already, and we talk to them and we connect with them because we want them to know that we're already here for them if they need us, you know. And when the time happens, but also to be able to, you know, I just finished reading Spirit Babies by Walter, forget his last name, and he talks a lot about people who have issues conceiving or like go through difficulties, and he talks about how can you communicate with your spirit baby so that you can check in with what it needs, or what's the reasons that it's holding back, or what are the things you need to look at within yourself before it comes in. And that's like a real conscious, that's what he talks about, conscious conception, is like being in that inner dialogue with our spirit babies so that we can usher them into this reality in the most supportive and conscious way possible.
When you are in dialogue with our spirit baby, do you see her, or is it just like you're talking to the ether and you get responses?
I feel the energy of the spirit baby like around me. And like, I've been having some sessions with clients recently where they've turned up in the session as well.
All right. Like, oh, sorry, I got all my kids here.
Yeah, in a beautiful way. And I think that just comes in finessing, like feeling energy and like intuition, which, you know, takes time. But some people it's easy. Some people you need to work at it. And it's also playing in that realm too. Like me and my girlfriends, we always play in that realm. Like, okay, what do you feel the spirit baby is around me now? Or what do you feel the energy is around me in terms of relationship? And like, you can tap into those energies, like if you just take the time to listen, just like you would listen to your heart. And I feel it's almost communicating through me, like through my heart or my womb or my body, where I can feel it in the space.
How do you find that helpful in the lead up to conception?
Well, like I was saying, like we can connect in and ask like what it needs to feel safe, or what it needs us, how it needs us to be showing up. And that was something that came up for me recently, is that I all of a sudden felt this passion to just be in like this creative space and be creating in different ways, like through art or through like creating things online or whatever it is. And I realized like that was a big part of what my choice of my parents was as a spirit baby. Both of my parents are very creative in their own ways. And I realized that our spirit baby wanted me to be embodying that creativity as well, and not like brushing it aside and only doing it every once in a while. It's have something that you're creating all the time.
It comes back to like, who do you want to be when you bring a child into this world? And what you're saying is the spirit baby is helping you understand that creativity needs to be a bigger part in your day-to-day.
Yeah. And the other side of it is this release of control and just having like more ease, or just being more relaxed. Like that's what I've definitely noticed.
I mean, I haven't.
I feel like you're
maybe
into that now too.
Totally. Yeah, I haven't consciously said, okay, I want to tap into our spirit baby and see what is needed, but I've certainly intuited
that you need to be more relaxed.
That I need to be more relaxed.
Yeah.
That I need to be less stressed.
Yeah.
And that I just need to be embodying that this too shall pass. Let's have a good time.
Yeah. Have fun.
Yeah. And most importantly, be present. Just be present, man.
Definitely.
Yeah. That's been coming up for me a lot recently. And so maybe it's the spirit energy, the spirit baby energy kind of flowing into and shaping my intuition.
And then on a more physical level, I feel like you and I are both kind of drawn to going and like getting our nutrients and vitamin levels checked and things like that, just to make sure that we're doing the best to be in health after, you know, rebuilding post fasting, and sometimes some things take longer to rebuild, or depending on what that is. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's certainly there's a presence with how we're kind of going about things at the moment. We're certainly not like ticking off a list like we need to get this done, and then we can start banging. It's like
there is one thing I want to do before that, but I don't know if it's going to happen.
Right.
We've talked about this, like going and doing a yoga immersion.
Right.
All the ones that I want to do, the timing, I'm like, maybe it's not going to work. We'll see.
Yeah, we're if we could have a bit of fun for a moment, we're conscious conception, and maybe this isn't actually even coming under it, but what doesn't get me going is like talking about, I don't want to have a child. I don't want to get pregnant this date because then we'll have a child that's this star sign. Like that to me is like,
I feel attacked.
Yeah. I didn't know how to say that without.
Do you know the funny thing is that, I was saying that about a certain star sign, which I won't go into.
And I understand the logic.
Wait, let me finish. It's just because I have so many of them in my life.
Right.
But at the end of the day, it's funny, you'll say that and then they'll still end up having their moon sign be that star sign or whatever it is, and it's actually recently I've just been like, I don't really care.
Yeah, it feels
just a big thing for me. Let's just acknowledge this for a second.
Very nice. I like it.
How much am I releasing control to be like, I don't care what star sign they have?
Yeah, to me it's like a redundant conversation. It's like, yeah, but I understand having those conversations can be fun to kind of like
Definitely.
Joke around and whatever.
And it's fun to talk about like what star sign would suit us or what would challenge us. Like those, I like having those sorts of chats. I've had those sorts of chats a bit as well.
But yeah, I think that all sits below the wisdom of the child that we have is going to come in because we're going to challenge them and they're going to challenge us.
Definitely.
And we're going to help them grow and they're going to help us grow.
And they're going to be able to have supportive, conscious parents that, I'm sure will experience their own challenges.
I've got a question without notice.
Okay.
Given, and this may sound like a criticism to our parents, it's not. It's just an observation.
We adore our parents and everything that they've given us, and we're constantly so grateful for them. So
yeah, given we didn't receive unconditional love, how can we give unconditional love? I mean, can't by proxy, because
do you feel like you love someone unconditionally now?
To be honest, no. I think if you look hard enough, there's conditions.
Yeah, but
I think I'm certainly way more progressed, but I think if I'm really honest, like I'm sure, and it might just be a bullshit condition, but I'm sure that there will be a condition there somewhere, depending where I look.
In this moment, like, can you think of someone in your life that you love unconditionally?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Well, if you can experience that opportunity, like if you can actually embody the experience of that you have that now, that if you can harness that energy of knowing that you love someone in your life unconditionally, like for me, it's my sister. I don't even think our parents experienced that.
Right.
That's what. So the fact that we can experience that we did love someone unconditionally, like now, then we can harness that with children as well.
Yeah, I guess the reason I asked the question is like I'm sure there'll be moments when
of course we're like, this is the thing, it's like we've said, we're not perfect, and I don't proclaim to be perfect, and even in those moments where I wish I was, I'll be shoved back in the corner very quickly to remind myself that I'm not perfect. And those are exactly what children will do to us.
Yeah.
And
without even knowing it.
yeah. But I do feel like, even though you say that our parents didn't experience unconditional, we didn't experience unconditional love because our parents didn't experience unconditional love, and there was a flow-on effect. I do feel that our parents would still feel that they did experience unconditional love to a degree.
Yeah, at points.
Yeah.
And
so, it's a hard question to answer because
it is, isn't it?
I think it's multifaceted, and unconditional love is really the journey of this human life that we're living. Like, we're constantly trying to understand what love is without conditions, and we're constantly trying to navigate life to feel that we are loved, and we're constantly trying to navigate what love looks like and learn more about it. Is that perhaps our human purpose on this earth? So of course there's always going to be different variances of how we experience that depending on what our soul has chosen to come through. My experience of unconditional love could be learning to love myself more deeply in the space of being able to be just a creative being. Yours could be learning to unconditionally love your father, even though he, you know, did X, Y, and Z and now can't remember what he did X, Y, and Z. Or, you know, our experience could be learning to unconditionally love a tiny human that we have to look after. Or for some people, it's learning to love an animal so that they can harness what that feels like so they can unconditionally love themselves. Because at the end of the day, whatever we're experiencing externally, that unconditional love, the only reason it's happening there is so that we can reflect it inwards to ourselves, so we can truly know what unconditional love feels like towards ourselves, which then as by proxy allows other people to unconditionally love us better, let's say, in quotation marks. It's just like that. It's the cyclical
It's
nature.
like reciprocity.
It is the reciprocity. It's the gift that keeps on giving. It's love.
Simple.
I love that though. Like,
no pun intended. I love it.
Yeah, me too. It's love is the gift that keeps on giving, because it's the gift that we can give freely, and we can give by choice, and we can give unconditionally. We can also give conditionally in the sense to be able to create another flow and effect if that's the choice. You know, some people need to be loved conditionally so that then they have their triggers so they can work through their stuff and go through their dark night of the soul and come out a better human at the end of the day.
Yeah.
Isn't it all just perfect at the end of the day? So is that all just really what unconditional love is? It's
like the greater journey of alignment. And we're certainly going through a moment in time as a species where more and more light is coming through. And so I think in many ways it's aligned with our motivations behind getting healthy, because we want to bring in a child from into a very healthy environment,
so that they don't have the barriers of health to overcome. They can overcome bigger things and help this planet.
Exactly. And
that might sound a bit like shuffling ourselves up a little bit, but if that's the perspective that we can take, like, how amazing is our planet going to be in the future if we all were able to do that?
Yeah, 100%. I think no, this episode's going to be called like Two Egos Have a Chat. But no, I agree with what you're saying. And what I was alluding to there is that in a similar way, I think the children being born at the moment, not just our children, but many children.
It's already happening.
Yeah, exactly. They're experiencing.
Not just our kids.
No. No.
It's only our children that'll experience it.
They're all experience a higher level of love and acceptance from their parents.
Definitely. And then that's allowing the evolution to truly occur of this planet.
Exactly.
And the part that we have chosen to play is by prioritizing health first for those things to come through. Whereas other people, it's other things.
Yeah.
Or other people, they're not meant to go through that because they're working with that while their child's little, or, you know, whatever those contractual agreements are. Everyone's different. This is just what feels right to us.
Yeah. Right and wrong.
Right. Yeah.
Love.
Love.
Consciousness.
Yes. Conscious relating, conscious love, conscious loving, and conscious conceiving, and conscious parenting. I'm excited for the parenting journey as well, because I feel like it's going to be a new challenge to expand who I am to what I can't even imagine. Because if I can think about where we've been in our relationship and where we could go even in our relationship for another 8 years, imagine what a relationship with a child's going to do.
I think you're going to be an amazing mum.
Thank you. I think you're going to be an amazing father. I think that might be where we ended.
Amen.
What's our summary? In relationship, be each other's cheerleader, support each other, and commit to growing together. Commit to the love of that. And in parenting, we have no fucking clue yet. So stay tuned.
Exactly. In 10 months, the podcast comes out. Oh my God, the child won't shut up. And
we haven't getting pregnant. We did say we're going to go.
We did say, yeah, exactly. Now. We're leaving the podcast rolling. No, that's a really beautiful.
Ovulating, so that was not probably immaculate conception. Well, thank you so much for coming on to chat about this, Alex.
Thank you.
I very much enjoy our conversations, and we should turn these mics on more regularly when we have these deep chats. Deep chats with Alex and Kristin.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. But I hope you guys listening enjoyed this chat as well. And if you have any questions or anything that you want us to talk about in the future, hit us up. We would love to experience the perspective that you guys can give us too.
Can I do a quick shout out?
Shout out, baby.
I too host a podcast.
Sorry,
I meant plug. Can I do a quick plug?
I shut up myself? Alex has a beautiful podcast called Sweat It Out, and he's had some amazing guests recently. No one on Spirit Babies, but maybe that's on the internet. But you did have one recently with Cam Fraser, which was all about male sexuality and connecting with yourself on
self-pleasure practices
and all those taboo topics that these men, and women, need to open up to.
Yeah. Check it out. Sweat it out.
Sweat it out, baby.
I don't know why I felt the need to plug that then, but it just felt right.
I think maybe I'll cut it out.
Well, no, because I'm the co-host, so
you are the co-host.
Technically, it's like, if where can they find you?
Maybe we'll have you as a guest, and we can talk about sauna and business, and you can have the proper questions at the end too.
We're talking about, we can do that.
We can do that.
We'll see how
we keep having other conversations come up that we want to talk about.
I really enjoyed this conversation. It was a pleasure coming on as co-host.
And now we're just rambling.
So let's go.